Welcome back to all the participants. This is the second session of day 3 of the 5-day faculty development program organized by Department of Civil Engineering at DSATM. Today we have again the honor of having Honorable Speaker Dr. K.S. Jagdish sir. He was here with us on the first day sharing his immense knowledge, and today he'll be carrying forward his talk on utilization of soil-based building materials and building techniques for sustainable construction. Sir, on behalf of the Department of Civil Engineering DSATM and all the participants, I wholeheartedly welcome you to the session. I request Professor Sandhya V. Ma'am to kindly introduce us to the guest. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, sir. I take great privilege and pride to introduce the speaker of the session, Dr. K.S. Jagdish sir. Sir has done his BE from Mysore University in the year 1961 and MSc and PhD from IISc in 1969. Sir has done his postdoctorate fellowship from Karlsruhe University, Germany from 1972 to 73. Sir started his career from IISc in 1967 up to 2002. Sir was the chairman Astra Center IISc from 1983 to 89. After retirement, Sir is the Emeritus Scientist IISc from 2002 to 2006 and a visiting professor for RV College of Engineering from 2006 to 2015. Sir has postgraduate teaching experience in matrix structural analysis, structural dynamics, shell theory, earthquake engineering. Sir's research interests are alternate building materials and structural masonry, earthquake-resistant masonry, rural engineering, energy systems. Sir has done over 150 paper publications and about 5 books. Other associations. Sir was a member of former board member for Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and Environment, and Sir was a promoter and director of Hunnar Shala Foundation, Section 25 company, Bhuj, Gujarat. Sir has resigned as director from Bhuj, Gujarat in the year 2020, and Sir is the president of Grama Vidya, Bangalore. So this is a brief introduction about Sir, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. I welcome Jagdish sir to give the presentation. Thank you, sir. Giri sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Over to Jagdish sir to start with today's presentation.
Please give the option to share this.
Yes. I've given it, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you see the PPT?
Right now, we can't.
Just a minute.
Yes, now it is visible.
Friends, today I would like to share with you my experience over the past 46 years in the area of construction using mud. We civil engineers talk of soils, but people understand the word mud better, so I use the mud construction. We started doing this work at the Professor Amulya Reddy, who started the Astra Center, was the inspiration, who asked us to look at mud as a building material. And we were supported by the Karnataka State Council of Science and Technology for more than 10 years. And so we started this activity in the year 1975. And I will divide my presentation into two portions. The first half is the activities pursued through the Indian Social Science, carrying out research in mud construction, as well as construction of experimental buildings. In fact, we started out right away with constructing alternative buildings made mistakes and started learning through laboratory research and so on. So this went on for, I would say, nearly 20 and odd years. This was the first half of the work, which was done primarily from the Institute of Science, where I was the one who is leading all the activities with my students and other associates. Later on, after about 1989 or so, serious dissemination of the technologies that were developed by us was started by Dr. Yogananda, who was my student earlier. And I will be sharing information as what happened after the institute research, subsequently in the second presentation. The first one is this building alternatives for housing. I have a few slides which talk about energy and carbon emission, which I shared the day before yesterday. So we will skip some of these things. Here is a figure showing cost of bricks and tiles for a 250 square feet Janata house from the year 72 to 90. You notice there is a exponential rise in the cost of bricks and tiles. Main reason being, both bricks and tiles are energy dependent. In 1973, there was a oil price hike. From then onwards, price of all fuels has been going up and consequently the building materials. So the lesson from this is, if you look for building materials, try to reduce the energy consumption. When the energy consumption is high, you see this kind of mistake. The second issue is transport. Here is a graph which shows how transport by different modes leads to increase in cost. The first point is distance is the one factor which increases cost. Second is the mode of transport. For instance, if you use a head load kind of activity, very short distance, that is the cheapest. But very soon as the distance increases, you have to go for bullock cart or tractor. But the bullock cart also goes on increasing because the price of management of bullocks has been going up. So bullock cart price becomes so large at some point, so that tractor becomes cheaper than the bullock cart. So you can see this happening now. About 15 years back, you could see bullock carts transporting building materials in Bangalore. Today, you don't see that anymore. You've got load after auto rickshaws. So with increase in cost of fuel, you will find transport modes also get altered. And one of the lessons from this is you should try to use as local a material as possible. This is the Gandhi's precept. He said, if you want to build a house in a rural area, get all your materials from a distance of 5 miles. Those days people are talking of miles. That is the use local materials. So 2 lessons: use less energy, use local materials. We try to follow this. India has carried out experiments in soil cement work since 1948. Surprising. In 48, in Karnal, it was then in Punjab, today it is in Haryana. 4,000 houses were built for refugees because these refugees came from Pakistan. Immediately they had to be built, housed. Bricks were not available. You see, bricks production takes time. That was the season. In the rainy season, you don't get brick production. So they had to put up buildings. And then they had the Building Research Division of Punjab was doing research both in Karnal and Lahore. And one, Mr. Mehra, who was the research scientist, he suggested we could use stabilized earth, rammed earth block walls. These walls are made out of ramming soil and cement mixtures, 2.5% cement. 4,000 houses were built. Even now, there are houses which people have been living. But the surprising fact is, after this, nobody took a second look at this technology. Maybe because use of mud was always considered it. We were fascinated by concrete at that point in time. So mud was not considered very attractive. And the houses were given to refugees who had no other option. So to that extent, people didn't think much about this. And more or less, this was the end of this technology. You can say infant mortality of soil sim technology. Although we started 73 years back, we didn't improve upon it. Bangalore was also a pioneer. 1949, there were stabilized mud block houses. 260 houses were built by an engineer by name R. Madhavan. He made use wooden mounts and hand rammed soil cement, 5% cement to make blocks and then built walls out of this. Even now, there are 6 houses near Krishna Floor Mill. The walls are not great. You can see a little bit of plastering at the base. Otherwise, there is no plastering. It is all whitewashed house. And the 6 houses near Krishna Flour Mill are performing reasonably well. In spite of the fact that the blocks were not great, when I tested some of the blocks out of some buildings which were removed, the strength was pretty low. But this was also an experiment which did not excite interest among the engineers. And Mr. R. Madhavan, his name has been given to a park in Jayanagar, so that you can forget about what he has done. Like we forget about Gandhi by putting his picture in all the notes, and then we do not follow what he said. Later on, we built one house, one building, using a machine called Sinoram, which was imported from Colombia. And we designed our own machine. It is known as the Astram in 1979. We were demonstrating this in a rural area in a village called Ungra. It's myself there along with the joint director, Dr. Ram Sheshan. All my younger colleagues, Venkatram Reddy, are all there here. He has now retired. We invented another press in 87, which made further improvement. You can notice that we have a small pan balance here to weigh the soil. To control the density, we have to weigh the soil. We use corridors to improve the quality of the block. Here, 3 people. Actually, machine is designed for 2 people to press. Here, this person is enthusiastic because I have taken the photograph. All the 3 persons are pressing. We produce a soil cement block. This is the latest machine, 94, developed in Mardini soil block press. And this is now currently manufactured by a company called Mahimaya. And about more than 1,000 machines have been produced, sold all over India and even in countries abroad. 2018, all the other machines were manual. Human being had to press the block using a toggle lever, a compound lever. But we also developed a mechanized press using hydraulic press using electrically operated. This was developed by Yogananda and his associate Arvind. Because very often these days people ask for, they find the pressing using the toggle lever is a little tiresome. Many people would prefer to use a machine, and we also try to develop such machines. They are a little more costly and they need the use of electricity. There are advantages and disadvantages. The manual machine could be used anywhere where you do not have electricity, and it generates employment. This was my first experimental building, the biogas laboratory built in 1976. I used a machine called Sinvaram, which is a copy of the machine, which was originally used in Whitefield by one Mulgaonkar. Professor Reddy borrowed that machine and we copied the machine and produced this building using 5% soil cement stabilization. And you notice I have used pilasters. To reduce the cost, I used 6-inch thick walls so that the volume of the brickwork would be reduced. And we had the pilasters to take the load of the roof. Today, I would think twice before using 6-inch wall because the 6-inch wall transmits a lot of heat. These are some of the mistakes I made, and as I went on, I learned and corrected the mistakes. Later on, we moved to the village called Ungra, where the government had leased out 20 acres of land, 50 acres of land to the institute for our rural technology experiments. And I was asked to put up buildings for people to stay in the village, for the scientists to visit the village. And we started putting up this building used a machine called Elson Blockmaster. This is actually a South African machine. It's an enterprising Gujarati brought from South Africa and set up a company in Rajkot in Gujarat. Lots of Gujaratis like Mahatma Gandhi were there in Gujarat and they interacted with India. This person, Mr. Mohanlal Joshi, set up this factory, and I had seen this machine in use in a course in Trivandrum. So as soon as I came back from the course in 75, I ordered this machine. So this machine in 1976 and 77, we started using this machine in the village. This machine was better than this environment. It had a good compaction. I am showing this picture because here I have used plain mud above the sea level. Because adding cement, we wanted to use local materials. So cement is not advisable unless it is absolutely necessary. We thought, let us find out what happens if we don't use cement. But we use lime up to the sea level. In fact, I had forgotten that we had used lime. Later on, I had a slide of this, and when I digitized this, I noticed the color of the walls is different below the sill. Then I remembered I had used lime, 2% lime, and my diary had test results of a 2% lime block. So because of this, I refreshed my memory and understood that I have used lime here. The color difference makes it very clear that the blocks below are different. The reason why I'm saying this is 77, we put up this building, we had a bamboo-based roof and all that. 78, when the rains came, all the plain mud blocks started showing erosion. In fact, this is the picture. After the erosion, I panicked and gave a coat of tar. It was looking very ugly. I covered it with a lime surki wash. You can see a little bit of black patches here and there with the tar inside. That protected the building for the time because I was scared. I was young. I was demonstrating alternative technology, and the first experiment I made was seemed to have problems. So immediately I tried to correct. Fortunately, I was doing it in the village and not in the Institute of Science. If I had done it in the Institute of Science, everybody would have laughed at me. Of course, the villagers were amused with all my work. This is another picture. Accidentally, this is a picture of a windmill which is next to it. Accidentally, this has come, and I have taken this picture after the erosion in the walls. So now I have evidence of erosion, and I also have evidence that below the sill there is no damage. In fact, I panicked so much when this happened. I did not notice that there is no erosion below the sill. I was in great hurry to remedy what has happened. But today, fortunately for this photographic evidence, I can construct what has happened. And I also show the presence of 2% lime It's prevented erosion. It's a point of learning I can now say this is what to be learned now. I also made another experiment. You make a large number of small experiments. A fascinating period where you try out new ideas, something works, something doesn't. Here is an experimental wall I built with lime stabilization, 5% lime stabilization on the left side, plain mud on the right side. After 2 or 3 years, I took this photograph. You can see the plain mud has eroded, the corners have gone. But the lime stabilized blocks are absolutely good, the surface is not eroded. So it shows the value of lime stabilization. Lime stabilization may not increase the strength enormously, but it will prevent erosion. Now, I was unhappy with the tar coating I had given because the whitewash would wash away and the building was looking very ugly. So I decided I must correct this mistake. So I removed the tar completely and invented a cheap local plaster. Every step we have to innovate. We have to do something where we want to do a local material. We want to save cost. So I used a plaster known as lime soil plaster. You see, lime mortar would be very expensive. I could have used lime mortar. I know lime mortar would have worked again. But lime mortar is a 1:2 mortar. Lime is more expensive than cement. So the lime mortar would be unworkable. But I added lime to soil and sand. It was probably 1:3:3 kind of mixture. So lime is only 1/6. So the cost of lime doesn't figure much. And I used this as a plaster. And you may ask me, why did I use soil? See, when you use soil in the plaster, its ability to adhere to plain mud is improved. So we want the plaster to adhere to plain mud. Cement mortar would not adhere because the properties are so different. So I invented this cheap local plaster and covered the wall with, after removing the tar, I had this plaster. But this plaster was very weak. It would also absorb moisture because it's 1:6 mortar. So I had to prevent moisture absorption. For that I did what is known as the lime slurry coat. Today, all your walls in the interior of the house, after cement mortar, would provide lime slurry and smooth finish. I did the same thing here. You can call it as the Dusra coat. This was a fantastic thing because lime slurry, it's calcium hydroxide. Very soon it will absorb carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and you have a seamless layer of calcium carbonate, which is an excellent waterproof. So this I did somewhere around 1980 or so. I visited this building 2 years back. It is absolutely intact. We changed the roof to a ferrocement roof. So we have proved that a plain mud block wall will perform if you give a very good plaster, very good waterproof coating. And it has now performed for 44 years. So this, I would say, is a great learning experience. We use plain mud, and engineers would be afraid of using plain mud for wall construction. We showed how plain mud wall can perform. We made another experiment because adding a stabilizer would increase the cost greatly. So we wondered, what happens if you make a block with only one portion having this stabilizer? We had lime surki, the local material. We had brick powder and lime as lime surki was added. Our machine was very convenient. We had a separator plate, put stabilized soil on one side and plain mud on the other, and then compacted after removing the plate. Now we have a built-in plaster for the block. It is a block which comes with the plaster. And because of the compaction, the two are held together under great pressure. The idea is you build the wall in such a way this is the external portion, so that the interior mud is not exposed to rain or water. So we built 2 buildings using this concept. This is the first building, pillars and walls with only external stabilizer. This performed satisfactorily for more than 15 years, but then there were two mistakes. Used a bamboo roof, and the bamboo roof was attacked by termites. So we had to remove the roof. And the wall design, where there are pillars and the walls, wall was separately built. Wall was not structurally connected to the pillar. So what would happen is the roof load was coming onto the pillar, and the bamboo would move due to thermal movements, and it would push the pillar. So we find separation between the pillar and the wall. These are some of the structural problems which we encountered. Today, looking back, if I repeat this work, I would see to it that the two are structurally connected, and this kind of problem would not happen. This is another building we built for a villager. He made the blocks himself, and we used again a bamboo roof, which was later replaced by a cement-based tile. We made another experiment in a village called Allalasandra. It is outskirts of Bangalore, on the way to Yelahanka. We built an Anganwadi with plain mud blocks. Entire wall is made out of plain mud blocks. But we gave it a waterproof coating. My experience with the building, that if you provide waterproofing, the building will last. But this one, instead of plaster, we gave a waterproof coating. This waterproof coating consisted of 4 coats of whitewash. Probably whitewash itself might have worked. But over in the whitewash, I gave a coat of a glue known as Marvajra in Kannada. Marvajra is the carpenter's glue made out of hooves of animals. Today, you use this Marvajra for bookbinding. It's a glue which is normally available in the form of a solid. It dissolves in hot water. So we dissolved this glue in hot water, made a cheap solution, dilute solution of this glue, and gave 2 coats of this. What happened is, once the moisture evaporated, we had a thin layer of this glue. This glue would not dissolve under rainwater because it needs hot water. So this building lasted 18 years without any problem. But then this area land cost went up. So Judges Colony came, they wanted to build up multi-story buildings, though they removed this Anganwadi. If I had built it inside a school compound, it would have survived. But unfortunately, a local businessman, local villager wanted it in his land, and the consequence of that. Another experiment we did. Here is a wall which a 3-inch layer of stabilized mud block in the exterior, plain mud in the interior. Because once you have plain mud in the interior, it won't be affected because externally you have a stabilized layer. But the 2 layers have to be joined. Otherwise, the 2 layers will go apart. So I have used through blocks periodically. In fact, I have used one through block and another regular block. But I could have made them a little farther apart, in which case the wall would have been much cheaper cost. So this is another experiment. These are possibilities you can make if you want to break down the cost of the building. This was the first major dissemination of the mud block technology using Yeltsin Blockmaster. Kaveri Paper Mills, Ritigala, Chamarajanagar district, built it. The entire factory was built using Yeltsin blocks. Reason being, this place is about 120 kilometers from Bangalore. It's close to Mysore, but the bricks in Mysore were very bad. If you want to get bricks from Bangalore, you should transport it over a distance of 120 kilometers. They pushed up the cost. So the partner of this paper mill, that was on Mr. Kumangada. My brother was the other partner. would not believe in whatever I was doing. But his partner felt this is a good solution. So he got 4 machines made. 4 machines were deployed there, used the local soil, and they made soil cement blocks for the entire paper factory. I suggested use of 8% cement because I do not know what would happen in an area where there is control is not clear. Then in 1985, we had to build the office complex for us. At first built the biogas laboratory at the back, which I had shown earlier, 76. Now we got money to build the office complex. And an architect, Subhash Basu, had joined me. I gave the task of designing the office complex to Subhash Basu. So we produced this building. There new innovations were here. We did corner rounding. You see, when you don't plaster the wall, the corner is generally weak. If somebody dashes against it, the corner can get damaged. So he said, let us round the corner. Our machine has the advantage, you can produce blocks of different varieties. So you rounded the corner. So you have corners, door jambs, everywhere corner rounding. And then we had a jack arch roof, a modern version of jack arch. The traditional jack arch uses a steel girder. I don't want to use a steel girder, which is so expensive, so energy intensive. We made precast concrete, reinforced concrete beams. We lifted and kept them across the walls. And then these arches were made out of weatherproof tiles, which are 2-inch thick. They were cast on the ground with the GI wire as reinforcement and then lifted and kept. So it's a prefab jack arch terrace. So this was an experimental roof. And further, we also did 2 vaults using the same thin tile. This our vault was a prefab vault. We made it in 3 pieces and assembled them to vault. So we made lots of experiments, but we also had a problem. We did not know what soil to select, how much cement to add. We just thought red oxide, red soil is okay. First we had 5% cement, now we added 6% cement. But this time the soil had 30% clay. We did not know what soil to use. We were enthusiastic. We had to quickly produce the buildings. We had no time to detailed research. So we produced this building. And next year, we started noticing that some of the blocks were getting damaged. Although we had used 6%. And the corner, there used to be a crack. What happens is when you have excessive clay, the block will expand slightly when it rains, and it will contract when it dries. Alternately, when this happens, the corner develops a crack, and some of the surfaces will start peeling off. So then we started doing laboratory research, we felt that you should not use a soil with more than 15% clay when you're using 6 or 7% cement. This had 30% clay. So this was the second learning we had after the when you do experimental buildings, you come up with information which will help us. Fortunately, we didn't use this technology to give buildings to people right away. Because if we had made mistakes like this, people would say, this is a useless technology, let us not implement. This was a mistake we made in our own experiments, in our own work. So this learning was great learning, and it's about 10 years after our initial experiment, we still were learning. But this was a very important learning. Today, we always add a little bit of sand if the soil appears clayey, so that the clay percentage is kept. In fact, the most important test you do is try to find out how much sand the soil has. If the soil has 70% sand, you can more or less rest assured that it is working well. This is the building for case. They were funding our research. So they wanted a building. And people were asking me, can we build 2 stories? All our buildings earlier were single story. Our knowledge of masonry was was very inadequate, but let us say we thought we can do a 2-story building. We built a 2-story building. We also made soil cement plaster. See, this is plastered completely with soil cement mortar. You can make mortar, 1 of cement, 2 of soil, red soil, and 6 of sand. It's cheaper mortar because it is 1:8. And because of the soil, the mortar becomes more compact, has better flow properties, and it adheres to the mud blocks very well. So, my earlier experiment was lime soil mortar. Here was cement soil mortar. So we have again come up with a solution where you use a local material, where you use mud to a greater extent and bring down the cost as well. My student who was working for his PhD with me at that point in time, he was married, he wanted to have a house of his own. So he decided to use the soil cement technology. He made some further studies himself and he made soil lime cement blocks. We were doing some experiments with lime stabilization, but he used both lime and cement and built his 2-storied house using the Itka machine. And this was, I would say, a revolutionary step. I say this because, you see, 48 and 49, there were experiments using mud buildings. Nobody was excited about it because the first experiment was for refugees, second experiment was for laborers in Bangalore. The technology which you gave to the people who are not very well off will always be considered as inferior. You know what happened to the Janata cloth? And the government produced what is known as the Janata cloth. Even the Janata refused to use it. And here is an example where an engineer uses a new technology for his own house. So this people accepted. And it looked good. Exposed soil cement block work, it looked nice. In fact, at that point, HUDCO had conducted a couple of seminars and they advertised this as a revolution in Bangalore. I would say this is the start of the ground revolution in Bangalore. And that year, 20 people came forward, said they want a house like this. So the 48 and 49 experiment did not lead to any additional buildings. But we were making experiments once in ones and twos. Should not build hundreds of houses using a new technology. The smallest problem, it will be rejected. If you make buildings in ones and twos, you go through a learning experience and there is scope for midstream correction. But this one was the breakthrough. Architects started looking at this technology. This is a SMB house in Mysore, exposed soil cement block work. You can see the variety of experimentation which architects do to display the new material in exposed block work. 97, I had to build I was living in a single-storied house with 1 staircase room. And my daughter we got married and she was living in a rented house. I was wondering, why don't I build my first floor so that my daughter need not stay in a rented accommodation? And I could also correct the fact that I was living in a brick house and recommending soil cement. My house was built in 72 when I did not know anything about buildings. All my research started in 75 onwards. And when I built my first floor, I used the soil cement block machines developed by me. And you notice there is a reddish colored powder here. This reddish colored powder, I had to remove the Surki concrete on the roof. It's about 4 to 5 inch layer. It had to be removed. When I removed, lot of powdery material came, which contains old Surki, old lime. sand, everything. So I thought I should use this. And I added this to cement mortar. You see, I am adding mud, something else to cement mortar to make it better. Because cement mortar sets so fast. You need a mortar which sets slowly. And we added this material which contains surkey and lime, old lime. And the mortar setting time increases. You can see the pinkish color of the mortar. So all the waste from the demolished surkey concrete were reused. It's an indication how you can use a demolished building in recycling materials. And another interesting thing here is we had 4 wall thicknesses in this building: 9 inches, 7.5 inches, 6 inches, and 4 inches. You can vary the wall thickness, which will again lead to better economy. There was also a major failure. This was the failure in Yelahanka, 1992. Picture was taken 92, but the problem started showing in much earlier. The HUDCO was very enthusiastic. After conducting 2 seminars, they said, let us build 700 houses. They wanted to promote the new technology. And they asked the Karnataka Housing Board to build 700 houses in soil cement. But unfortunately, Karnataka Housing Board did not use our knowledge. They claimed that they were pioneers of new technology, advertised half a page advertisement in the newspapers that they were pioneers of new technology. But they did 3 mistakes. You are adding sand. They didn't know that sand has to be added. And then I'm not sure if they used 5% cement. See, cement is a lubricant. People would like to take away some cement and use it for something else. Contractors generally make money by all these techniques. And then I'm not sure how well they compacted the blocks. So the machine was also their own copy. And the result is the wall started deteriorating. With the kind of experience we had earlier in our office building in 85 was reproduced here because they did not consult us regarding using. They more or less stole the technology, picked it up from the streets. There are half-baked consultants. And when these houses started showing distress, there were questions in the assembly. The housing minister, Mr. Kagod Timappa, declared in the assembly that this technology was developed by Professor Jagdish, more or less absolving of their responsibility. When they built, they did not consult me. When it failed, they pointed their fingers at me. Well, I think one lesson from this is fly-by-night operators have to go away. In fact, after this, no entrepreneur came forward to use this technology. It was a bit sad because their potential was not realized. And in fact, in Mysore, they were building very good houses because the soil was sandy. This soil was not sandy. But the Mysore people also got afraid because this is bad news. They abandoned the soil cement blocks. They built the portion above the roof in brickwork rather than soil cement blocks because they felt that this doesn't. The unfortunate part is our engineers do not try to think or try to understand any technology. In fact, the National Housing Bank chairman, Mr. Shastri, who gave us support, told me that government should never build houses. Government building houses during agriculture is a problem. When the private sector builds, you will find that the houses are excellent. This is a 3-story building in Krishnajpura, using soil cement blocks, using vaulted roofs, everything possible. No problem with their performance. You can use blocks of different shapes. The machine has the advantage. You can use this a decorative block or a corbel. These are blocks used in filler slab roofs with a reduced thickness. So all possible, we did corner rounding earlier. So this technology has tremendous potential in expressing architecturally different forms. Now, Subhash Basu, who's working with me, an architect, and Yogananda, came up with a new concept called stabilized adobe. Here, no machine is used. See, the problem with the machine is it is costly and it requires a lot of effort to compact the block. Here, we have a technique using the more or less traditional technique of Adobe. Adobe is an unburned brick, but in producing Adobe, we do what is known as pugging. Even burnt brick, the soil has to be pugged. Pugging is stamping on the soil in the presence of moisture so that the clay coats all the other particles and becomes very homogeneous. We did this with stabilized soil, cement mixture. So this was pugged, and then using a mold, special mold with the bottom plate can be removed, we made the Adobe blocks of stabilized soil. And because of the bottom plate which can be removed, it is very easy to extract them. And this technique here, bottom plate is lying on the block, but the mold has been removed. This way, the shape of the block is very good. So, using this technique, we find that it is very easy to, in rural areas, people are used to making Adobe. They can use the same Adobe technology and using soil cement and produce blocks for their use. And they can do it after the harvesting. They can make some blocks and keep them apart. In rain, they won't dissolve because of the cement. They can build whenever they're convenient. A fantastic version of soil cement technology, stabilized Adobe. Already there have been many houses built using this concept. This is the filler slab roof in the first floor of my house. You can see these are all the mud blocks which replace part of the concrete in the below the neutral axis. Concrete there is expensive and not doing much. There is space for rods in between. So you remove part of the concrete below the neutral axis by a different material. Also lead to a ceiling pattern, reducing the cost and energy. We also did ferrocement roof. We see in a rural area, if we can precast the roof and erect it, there is nothing like it. Tile roofs are not economical anymore because we have to use wood. Here is a ferrocement. You make a 10 or 12 feet long unit and lift it, keep it across the walls. The roof is over. We have done half a dozen buildings with this kind of roofing. They are all performing satisfactorily. Treated thatch. People are talking about treating thatch. A lot of experiments have been made. In fact, the Private Industry Research Institute, they had some experiments and I received their advice and they told me to use copper chrome boric solution to treat the thatch. Here is a straw dipped in copper chrome boric solution and used as a thatch. Normally, thatch will last 1 or 2 years afterwards. The fungal attack will take away, it will become powder and it has to be replaced. But this thatch, which was made in Ungra village, lasted 7 years. After 7 years, I thought the top portion has gone. It appeared deteriorating. But when I tried to remove it, I found the interior was intact. Probably it would have lasted another 4 or 5 years. An interesting solution. Thatch is a cheap material. If you can make it last longer, if you can last 10 to 12 years, so many temporary buildings, roadside dhaba, everywhere. You can save money by using this technology. Afterwards, we didn't do much, but this is one experiment which showed us how we can use local materials. I talked about lime, and here is a lime kiln built in the village. We learned lime burning. Experiment Professor Kumar, chemical engineer in the institute, did a lot of collaboration in the institute, chemical engineering department, and he showed us how to produce lime because limestone were available in a nearby village. So we brought the limestone, used firewood, and we burned the lime. So lime becomes a local resource. It has tremendous possibilities. I showed how the wall can become erosion resistant if they add some amount of lime. And you can use this for plastering. So many possibilities with lime. Lime alone may not give a great deal of strength. But lime, if it is mixed with pozzolana, KRS Dam was built with lime pozzolana mortar. They made pozzolana by burning clay at the site. Clay burning is a method, but here is an interesting innovation. We used rices to burn the clay and made a special kiln with holes in the brickwork because the temperature of burning had to be brought down. If you burn rices at a high temperature, it won't be pozzolanic. If you burn it at a temperature of below 700, the ash becomes pozzolanic. And burnt clay is also pozzolanic. We produce what is called combination pozzolana. We make briquettes with rice husk and clay, burn them here because the rice husk is the fuel, and then you grind it to 90 micron fineness. You have an excellent pozzolana produced in the village. In fact, once we produced lime pozzolana cement in the village and sold it to villagers for about few months. Then somebody wanted to improve upon it and pursue it further. It's a great potential even now. If you can produce this in the villages, today people are using GGBS as pozzolana. You produce equivalent to GGBS in the village itself. By where rice husk is a local material, clay is a local material. This technology remains to be explored for the benefit of villages. This is another pozzolana kiln where you have a narrow, long kind of thing where most rices can clear burnt. I talk to you about lime soil plastering, which I did for the building. Here we did this for several rural buildings, mud buildings. Mud buildings, life can be extended by providing a lime soil plaster. Here is lime soil plaster. Here, over the lime soil plaster, we have done the lime surki coat, lime wash to make it a layer of calcium carbonate. We did this for several houses. Lastly, I would like to look at Adobe. Adobe is unburned brick, and it has been used extensively in older buildings. I started looking at it a little more seriously. And here is a building built in, I took the photograph in 86. Vallanapalya. These bricks are normal brick size, but you notice the damage at the base. These are not very good Adobe bricks. Probably they were not processed properly. What has happened? But look at this stabilized Adobe. Must have been made about 100 years ago. And this is used in a different method. This is known as sliced Adobe. We call it in Kannada as a kudlu itige. Kudlu is a sickle. You spread a layer of wet soil, pugged soil on the ground, like a cake, thin layer of 4-inch thick layer. Take a sickle and draw lines along this, like cutting this burfi or Mysore pak. You make a dish. And once you leave these marks, it will dry up and into several blocks. A very simple method of making Adobe. And this Adobe, you notice the bottommost block is very good. It has shown no erosion. I don't know what they did, whether the clay's proportion was right or whether they added jaggery or something like that. it has performed absolutely well for more than 100 years. So it shows Adobe has a lot of potential. I showed how a plain mud block can be protected by a mortar and a waterproof coating. Here are old cob walls in Chitradurga, the 200-year-old walls. Again, I do not know what they did, how they processed. These walls are lying in sun and rain and they haven't collapsed. These are the mud palace walls of Chitradurga. They are very interesting adobe. It looks like a hemisphere. Each block must have been made by hand. They are still remaining without erosion. This is Kittur mud block, the plaster. Another Kittur mud block with mud plaster. Kittur wall. So it shows that plain adobe has a lot of potential. And if you just stabilize it, it will probably perform very well. This is the simplest method to produce a soil cement wall. Here we made stabilized adobe with black cotton soil. See, black cotton soil is not readily usable in buildings. But here is lime stabilized with 10% lime. The soil was stabilized along with sand, and we built this wall in 1990. It gave a strength of wet strength of 1 MPa. 10 years later, I removed 3 blocks and tested them. It gave a strength of 1.8 MPa. So the lime stabilized soil gained strength enormously. I do not know. I have a feeling it will probably have increased in say over a 2 to 3 year period. So lime stabilization has all this potential to produce satisfactory walls. We also did some bamboo treatment. It was not very successful. Bamboo is something which has to be looked more seriously because it can be a very good local resource. I think more or less covered the stuff of the portion. This is the result of all the experiments I did through the institute. And subsequently, we will look at the next portion by a few minutes back. Yeah. 5-minute gap.
Thank you, sir. Sir, for this session, could we have questions if participants want it?
Okay. Yeah, you can. I can have questions now before I go to the next portion.
Or shall we have it in the end? We probably will need a
No,
break.
I think whatever I have presented so far, it can be open to question.
Dear participants, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat box so that I can read it out to sir. Any questions, please put it in the chat box. Conversely, you can raise your hand as well so that I can unmute and you could direct the question to sir directly. Sir, sir, there is one question. Professor
Yeah.
Renu wants to ask if repairs in Adobe structure is feasible and is it possible?
I don't know whether you mean plain Adobe or stabilized Adobe. Plain Adobe structures repairs are possible because I had shown how you can coat a plain Adobe structure with plaster, making it more durable. So repair is certainly possible in plain Adobe. With stabilized Adobe, of course, the question of repair, if the wall is made properly, then there is no issue.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I don't know if this constitutes a question. In the last session, we had Rangnath sir speaking about pond ash as
Yeah,
as a material for concrete. But could we look at
yeah.
pond ash as a material for stabilization and using it in the mud blocks?
Well, I am not sure if pond ash has good pozzolanic properties. Fly ash has. Pond ash may not be that good as a pozzolanic material. It may be just a filler kind of material, be more like sand.
Okay.
It has to be pozzolanic. We'll have to test it in lime sensitivity, and then only you can lime reactivity. Then only you can decide whether it can be used as pozzolanic. Fly ash and GGBS are well-known pozzolanic materials.
Nice.
Pond ash, I am a little doubtful.
Okay. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, sir. We'll take a break for about 5 minutes and then we can start with the
Okay.
second session. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. ಏನು properly made sewage ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು further maintenance?
Giri sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir?
Yes, ma'am. Can we start?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Start.
Oh, okay.
Sir, ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ sir? Giri sir?
Yeah, it's visible.
Friends, let us continue the presentation with the second half. This half, I'm talking about the dissemination activity done by Dr. Yogananda, who has been an engineering consultant after his PhD in the institute. He did two things. He set up a laboratory cum consultant center called Mrinmayi. The task of this laboratory is to test soils for the suitability for stabilized mudblocks. This is an important activity because no two soils are alike. Somebody comes up with a particular soil, he does not know how much cement to be added, what else to be added. So they will come to Yogananda for his advice. And this is a very important step because with our initial experience, we learned a great deal about what soil to use. We now use soil with a good sand content. So determining the sand content is an important experiment. And also, we have to avoid expansive soils, black cotton's kind of soils. So this needs a little bit of investigation of the soil. So Mrinmayi consultant has been doing this. They have tested soils from all over India, giving advice as to how to manage them. And so I will now talk about the kind of buildings. Yogananda also become a consultant in providing consultancy services in alternative stabilized mudblock buildings. Many of my earlier assistants who are now jobless joined him as supervisors, and he has built up a team. It's this team that is now spreading the concept of alternative buildings. The second thing he did was he set up a company to manufacture and market mudblock machines. Mr. Krishna, the mechanic who worked with me in the institute, ultimately he owned a workshop and produced all the Mazdini machines. And these were marketed by Yogananda's company, Mahimaya. And this team, Yogananda and Krishna, is responsible for the dissemination. Further, we also had another assistant by name Sudhakar Reddy, who is a PUC graduate, and he picked up all the activities in stabilized mudblock, and he has become a main troubleshooter. Other day there was a request from Lucknow, somebody is using a machine, he doesn't know what to do. So he has been asked to come to Lucknow to help them in understanding the technology. He goes all over India, troubleshooting and demonstrating technologies. So with this team, this is of course the first building of Astra. Dr. Yogananda was involved in the structural design of this building. The Mardini soil block press, which is marketed by. This is the Mrunmayee Center. First, he built a 3-storied building using mud blocks. We talked about mud blocks. All his office has to be built out of mud blocks. See, his staircase. Staircase is also made out of masonry, no concrete. So it shows the versatility of masonry. These are some of the residences he has been building. Very attractive, architecturally sound kind of buildings. And people came forward. When somebody sees this house, somebody else says he wants a house like this. There is no plastering externally. People got used to the exposed block work. Interior of a residence, again exposed block work, no plastering. So you save on the plaster, vaulted roof. People have been fascinated by this kind of treatment. Another house, basement for 2 floors. So load-bearing masonry being continued. First 4-storied building masonry, no columns. They built in Padmanabhanagar or Manashankari somewhere there, and 4 stories. There is no built several 4-storied buildings. Only the floor you use concrete or pillar slab, sometimes shallow dooms for the floor, or jackass terrace, all these possibilities. Masonry is making inroads everywhere. Farmhouse in Bangalore, interior of farmhouse, RC frame structure with SMB walls. In fact, the Shanti Park apartments in Bangalore, the entire apartment block was built using mud blocks. In fact, they had the advantage of when digging for the foundation, they had so much soil. All the soil was converted to blocks there itself. So you don't have to bring in wasting transport. So quite a few apartments were built like this. But subsequently, the apartment builders were so busy with so many details, they did not want to get into the block making activity. RC framed structure for the Rajiv Gandhi Housing Corporation. Assembly walls. Tamil Nadu, Dr. Yogananda and his friend Anuradha Krishna, they were in Tamil Nadu. So they started interacting with Yogananda, and dissemination activities started in Tamil Nadu. Woodlore in Tamil Nadu near T. A training program is going on. They used soil cement blocks, soil lime cement blocks. Tribal housing in Woodlore. Tribal housing in another in Woodlore. Doctor's residence. Hospital building in Woodlore. Interior hospital building. Residence in Woodlore. Anuradha and Krishna moved to Sittilingi in Tamil Nadu, in Dharmapuri district. There again, more houses were built. Tamil Nadu has the practice of using country tiles, 4 country line layer. So that has been worked out here. Chennai residence. Bricks India in Sholingore, they use a lot of our technologies. Yogananda was again a consultant. Tamil Nadu. Krishna and Anuradha were architects. School building in Sholingore. They were using foundry waste in Sholingore. And using foundry waste, we showed how blocks can be made. In fact, one school building has been built using boundary waste. Meghalaya, one person, Sujit Chaudhary from Meghalaya, got trained in mud blocks. Yes. And then he went to Meghalaya and started building the stabilized mud block technology. Actually, they purchased 20 machines from Mahimaya. Bhuj, Gujarat activity started after the 2001 earthquake. In fact, Dr. Yogananda was demonstrating mud blocks when the earthquake happened in Bhuj. And training program has been taking place with mud blocks. You can see the span balance for weighing the soil. Bhungas are circular buildings used by tribals in Kutch, and one block could be used again to make them. Residences in Bhuj. Block making in Indonesia. See, after the tsunami, the Hunashala group was interacting with people in Indonesia for housing, and Yogananda supplied the Mardini machines, and the Hunashala participated in demonstrating mud blocks in Indonesia. Residence in Indonesia. Sri Lanka, again after tsunami, one building was built. This is Kanikraj, who is a person associated with Yogananda, demonstrating the building in Sri Lanka. Nigeria. Afghanistan. One Raghuram, who was working with me earlier, became a freelance consultant, and he was involved in spreading this technology of Afghanistan. Rammed earth is another technique. Instead of making a block, use molds to ram soil and cement mixtures. It's a well-known technology used in France, used in China, used in Himachal Pradesh. Gas using rammed earth. Rammed earth residences in Bhuj. These are earthquake-resistant bands. Rammed earth residence in Bangalore. Here, you make rammed earth for a large block. Make a large block in situ and with joints. This is a machine, mold developed by Yogananda. How we use in rammed earth construction. A wall which is already built, you keep the mold above and compact the soil manually. Finished rammed earth wall. Many people like this kind of finish. Rammed earth wall construction Sithilingi, Tamil Nadu. The rammed earth house with a thatched roof, the traditional thatched roof. Hunashala was taking up a problem concerning Iran. They used Yogananda's mold to make rammed earth in Iran. Vaulted roofs. Using stabilized mud blocks, we have started building vaults. Vaults is a great advantage in that when sun shines on this roof, it is normal incidency only about along one line. Elsewhere, the roof is under shade, so thermally the interior becomes far more comfortable. And if you pierce a hole, you can take hardware outside. 20 feet span community building in Trichy in Tamil Nadu, again using stabilized mud blocks. You see the way I eliminated concrete in so many places. We developed a method of constructing walls. There are two methods of constructing a wall. You can use a strip forming. a mold which is about 2 feet wide, which is moved. But here is a technique where there are two templates are there. Always one template will be supporting the roof. You remove the other one and build one more wall, and remove the inner one and put it here. So continuously use two templates to complete the roof. With the two templates in place. This is removed and kept here to continue the roof. This is another method where you have a mold, the trusted support of this width. Every time you build this width, and then once this is over, after giving some gap of time, you move this further. These are brick walls for a school in Shoringboard. Doom, 30-foot diameter in Bangalore. See, the doom construction can be done without forum work, a spherical doom, because you have a rod which defines the position of a block to be kept. And the fresh block which is kept with mortar may slip away, so you put weights to keep the block in position till the mortar hardens. Once the mortar hardens, after about an hour or so, you can remove these bricks. You see, this is the radius is so large, you dug the ground to start the rod here. So this defines how the block has to be kept. This is all the detail for making a spherical dome. Spherical dome, there are now, with a tile, to avoid problems of water leakage. Mangalore was a heavy rainfall, so they decided to do a 2-layer roof with the mangrove tile covering. So there was some detailing here, and mangrove tile has been covered in the spherical dome. This is a brick dome in Bangalore, for a Bangalore club. Working stabilized adobe. This is how soil has to be packed by stamping. You can even use bison to stamp on the soil. It's a very important step. And here is the stabilized adobe mold. Keep the block on the ground and then try to remove the mold is being removed. The top plate is still there on the block. The top plate is further removed subsequently. A very simple innovation, and we found that it's very effective to improve the shape of the block. These are blocks stacked, stabilized adobe blocks. Variety of blocks you can make stabilized adobe. Here is a corner rounding. It's for a pillar slab. So all kinds of things can be made. The pillar slab roof with stabilized adobe. And the rod is provided in between these adobes. 2-story building in Bangalore using stabilized adobe. I think gone back to his house, present, and this completes the dissemination activity which Yogananda has done. And actually, this dissemination activity includes training programs. For instance, 25th of this month, there is a 1-day exposure program in Mrinmai, where we will be shown hands-on exercises how to make different types of blocks, ramrod, stabilized adobe, walls. Walls are not there, only mud construction will be demonstrated. A 1-day program. We also conduct 3-day programs under Gram Vidya, where both lectures and hands-on work are included. So this need to sending the ideas all over country. In fact, the Gunashila group is a constant consulting Dr. Yogananda and me. And when the Nalanda universities wanted to build its new buildings using mud blocks, we provided the information on how to stabilize the walls. In fact, there are Yogananda has built around 500 buildings in the whole of South India. He's a consultant to architects and others in Hyderabad, Coimbatore, and places like that. So my feeling is, I think the one man has done so much. We only need more entrepreneurs like him who can take up this activity and generate employment. See, these days engineers are worrying how to get jobs. There are no companies do not give jobs anymore. We need to have entrepreneurs producing alternative buildings which save money, save energy. It can provide enormous improvement to our infrastructure. So I appeal to our engineer friends that we should encourage youngsters to become entrepreneurs so that generate employment to a larger number of people. And this should happen in rural areas. Biggest problem is dissemination is going on actively in urban areas. Rural areas is a little slow. We need to energize activities in rural areas. Thank you. I think I have shared enough experiences of our blocks, and if there are any questions I can answer.
Thank you so much, sir. I think the presentations and the examples that you have given for the mud blocks and the SMBs, I think, are wonderful. No doubt that there is adequate importance and scope for such materials as we go ahead. But the thing is, how do we give it to people? Is the main question. And like you explained in the last class and the last session, it takes a lot of time to adopt and to go to SMBs. Participants, if you have further more questions, we can take it before we break for lunch. If there are any questions, you can please post it in the chat box. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't think there are questions coming up. Sir, thank you once again for being here with us. You've spared your time. You've come all the way from your place to our college to deliver the lecture. And the knowledge that you have shared is immense. I think there are so many takeaways, and the myths of stabilized mud blocks have been broken, wherein we can look at stabilized mud blocks and basically earthen material as building materials going into the future, and looking at sustainability aspects. Thank you so much, sir. Once again, on behalf of okay, I think we have one question. Our Rangnath sir is here. Sir, Rangnath sir, shall I unmute you, sir, so that you can ask it? Once, 1 minute. I'll just unmute you, sir. Sir, Rangnath sir, you're on unmute. You can. Yes.
Sir, good afternoon. Ranganath here.
Good afternoon.
As usual, wonderful to listen to you, as always.
Thank you.
Actually, I have two questions. One,
Please.
for the first part, when you produced lime pozzolana, which you said probably equivalent to GGBS, what we are getting now. Were any
Yeah.
tests done to ascertain the reactivity of the percentage reactivity of calcium oxide and reactive silica? Some tests, whatever available at that point.
Yogananda's MSc thesis has a lot of information, and we also have a paper on use of rices cash and burnt clay as pozzolana. So,
So
we have
almost
done-
70 to 80% of that material will be reactive in nature, like
I think,
GGBS.
when
If I
you make careful pozzolana with the rices cash and burnt clay,
Mhm.
the clay in the portion, in the soil portion, and the burnt rices cash, they are the pozzolanic materials. There will be a little bit of dilution in the form of sand and silt in the material, but bulk of it will be pozzolanic.
Okay.
And we have found that it can achieve very good strength and all that.
Okay, that's only through physical test mechanically, but nothing with respect to chemical or mineralogical or now glass content. People do glass content.
We did the X-ray diffraction tests of the
Okay.
pozzolana, and the X-ray
Awesome.
diffraction shows the amorphous nature of the
Amorphous nature.
thing. Yeah.
So the second one, all those adobes we are building now, what kind of durability? How do we ascertain durability? Let us say it's completely stabilized. Somebody may ask this question: will it not deteriorate like some of the examples we show? How do we say to people before we actually start concentrating once we make adobe? What tests you recommend?
Well, one of the tests is you dip it in water and then test it to get the wet strength.
So,
And another issue is, in fact, sometimes I think the stabilized adobe is even superior to compacted mud block. The problem with the compacted mud block is the clay remains as an independent separate particle. In the case of adobe, because of the pugging process, the surface area of the clay is stretched. It will coat the sand and silt particles, making it far more homogeneous. And I suspect this leads to greater stability of the stabilized adobe. I have seen plain adobes being very durable if the plain adobe is done properly. And with stabilized adobe, with cement and proper pugging, I have a feeling, mine is only a gut feeling. And we will have to produce buildings for a long period of time. You see, yesterday I presented, today morning I presented the buildings built in 1949 in Bangalore, near Krishna Folk Mill. They were made of inferior mud blocks. They have lasted 72 years. Now, with the kind of additional care that we are going to take this, I have a feeling there is no problem. In fact, we have even made stabilized adobe out of black cotton soil. Black cotton soil, one of the most treacherous soils. And we have made blocks, we tested after 10 years, exposed to sun and rain for 10 years, and then tested for compressive strength, where the compressive strength increased over a 10-year period. So I think there is enough indirect evidence for the durability of this. But of course, proof of the pudding is in the eating. You will have to put up a building and show it for. Now my oldest building is 46 years old. So I can vouchsafe the durability of stabilized mud block by that example. Similarly, stabilized adobe has to be built. I think Yogananda has built about 7 or 8 years back. One building in Bangalore. So I think that itself will gives exposed block. That itself gives an adequate indication of what happens when you do a proper job. When you do a proper job, because even burnt bricks are very poor quality. Burnt bricks can be made. So it depends on the quality of the production. If the quality of production is good, if the wet strength, when it is produced afresh, has a strength of around 4 MPa, I have a feeling nothing is going to happen to it.
Wet strength of 4 MPa. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, wet strength of 4 MPa. Dip in water for 24 hours.
24 hours, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Rangnath sir, thank you so much. Jagdish sir, once again, on behalf of department, we thank you so much for being here with us on both days and sharing your immense knowledge with us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. It's been
Dear
pleasure.
yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Dear participants, I think we can break for lunch for about half an hour, and we'll meet back here by 2 p.m. For the third session by Ramesh sir. Thank you, sir.
You ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರಾ?